Let's walk through every step of the franchise process when you franchise your business. The first step of becoming a franchise model is going through strategic planning, figuring out what exactly it is that you will be franchising, what those franchise fees will be, understanding what our strategy is, and how we will approach the franchise model. Number one, let's look at your franchise fees. We identify what your initial franchise fee will be. When the franchise buyer opens up that location, they will pay you this fee up front. Usually that fee will be somewhere between $15,000 and $75,000, and they're paying this to you for the rights to use your name and your intellectual property. Number two, let's look at the royalty fees. This is what constitutes the large majority of your profit and your majority of your revenue as a franchise company. Typically, it will be somewhere between 4 and 15% of gross sales that is paid back to you every week or every month, depending on how we set up the model. We then will look at things like marketing fees. In most franchise systems, we recommend that you have a brand fund contribution. In addition to the royalty fee, the franchisees will pay you 1, 2, up to 4% of their gross sales every week or every month that you use to help promote the brand and advertise the whole system. The idea here is that by combining funds and pooling marketing efforts, the high tide raises all ships, and all of your franchisees perform better than if they were doing this on their own. Number four, we need to look at all the local marketing requirements. Each franchise should be required to spend a certain amount of money in their market promoting their brand. This is not money that's paid back to you, it's money that we will check to make sure they are spending in their market. Maybe things like direct mail, billboards, signage, Google pay-per-click. It could be any version of local advertising that you specify, and we will tell them what exactly they need to spend that money on. Now we'll start looking at some of the strategic elements that we need to have in place to be able to effectively franchise the model. What technology do we use to operate the business? At the local level, this would be your POS system, your CRM if you're more of a sales model. If you're a service territory business, it would be your service logistics management software. We need to help figure out what that software should be. Maybe you already have it in place, maybe you don't. If you don't, let's figure out what software will help you allow to grow the business and scale it. Now we'll start mapping out our cash flow projections. Based on the fees and the performance of the franchise location, we can understand what your profitability will be as a franchisor and what the profitability will be for the franchisee. In this business, for it to work, we need to make sure that both you as the franchisor and the franchisee, the investor in your business, can make money and see the right return on investment and the right profitability that we want them to have. Now we will go through a process of benchmarking. This is understanding who your competition is. In the consumer market, you know who your competitors are. Who sells the same product? Who sells the same service? In the franchise market, your competitors may be different. Now we're competing with other businesses that are selling franchises that would be comparable in some way, shape, or form to your offering. It might not be in the same consumer market. Let's take a look at each one of those brands. What are their fees? What are their royalties? How many units have they sold? Where have they failed? Where have they succeeded? This will help us build the appropriate strategy and the right model to take your brand to market as a franchise system. Now we get into the legal compliance. This is where we create the franchise disclosure document, the franchise agreement. We go through the trademarking process if you haven't already. We need to protect your brand. We need to file that with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and make sure that we have all the tools in place to effectively sell a franchise from a compliance standpoint. The disclosure document basically gives the franchise owner an understanding of who you are, what the business is, what the required investment is for them to open up a location of your business, and what all the correlating fees are that are tied to your franchise model. This is where we pull that work that we did from strategic planning and it transitions into those legal documents. We recommend that you set up a new separate company to act as the franchisor. Many times we recommend doing this in states like Delaware, states that have favorable business rules and favorable business regulations. You are permitted to do that as a franchisor, and we recommend that as part of the process. We will help you do that. The third step in this process is to organize your systems. This is where we take all of that knowledge, everything that you've learned, all the know-how, both the good and the bad, the things that you've been through in building this business, and get it on paper. Get it organized so that we can teach someone everything that you know. In franchising, we never guarantee success. The franchisee has to go and implement your business. They need to work it. They need to put the time in. They need to follow the system. What we do give them in a franchise model is a blueprint. We need to give them that path and those documents and that organized, structured process so that they can skip the learning curve and get to the point where they have the opportunity to be profitable as quickly as possible. We will write those manuals with you and get all the ideas and thoughts and know-how and scripts and procedures that you do every day on paper and organized. The operations manuals are what the franchisee gets once they sign that contract. That's when they get access to this intellectual property. We then take that content and build it onto a system called a learning management system. We work with software that will create for you that takes that material and makes it interactive. Now the franchisee will read material and then take a test. Did you actually understand it? Did you absorb it? Did you spend the time to really understand what this meant? That will become the backbone of your training and your onboarding for new franchise locations. It will also automate many of the processes so you don't have to spend manual time and energy with every single question the franchisee will have. Once we've gone through the operational processes, now it's time to package the offering so we can market and sell it. And it's key to understand here that we're not selling the product or the service that you sell currently. We're now selling the business and as an investment. The brand should look the same. We should have the same theme, the same colors, the same logo. What is different is the messaging and the value proposition. The reason a franchise investor buys into a business is very different than why the consumer buys the product or service. What the buyer is looking for is, do we have training in place? Do we have good systems? Do we have a brand and a consumer market that there's growing demand for, there's growing interest in, and there's a need for, that can justify them in opening up a location of your business? We need to create the right collateral and tools to present this. Number one, we recommend having a separate, independent website that we can use to promote the franchise offering. Your brand positioned as a franchise offering, selling and telling the franchisee why they should consider joining us. We then need to create all of the collateral and tools, things like a franchise investment deck, the application forms, the non-disclosure agreements, a one-sheeter that bullet points all the key reasons and the high points of why someone should get excited, why they should take the next step in looking and evaluating your franchise system. We will do all of that. We'll create all the creative, we'll put together the materials, we'll make the offering look exciting, and most importantly, convey the reasons that they should consider taking the risk with you as a franchise owner. Now, once we've gone through those steps, it's time to go out and promote, sell, market, and find those franchise investors. That's step 5. We call it implementation. We can help you with every one of these phases, going through this process and putting your pieces together so that you can effectively franchise and scale your business through franchising.